Hey everyone, it's Colin Parker, and I am here with my final culture shock, and actually final video that I will be recording here in New Orleans. That's a pretty crazy feeling. So I wanted to talk to you today about an album that I literally just heard about this week. I was talking about pop punk just last night with a couple different folks, and I was talking about how I felt like, good pop punk isn't really around anymore. And someone was like, hey, you should listen to this album. It's a little bit older, not crazy old, but it's not like it didn't come out in the last 2 years. And so we're going to be talking about that album. It is Civil War by just by Dillinger Four. Not 100% sure on how to pronounce it, but it's Dillinger 4. I'm going to be recording another episode of this. See, everything's being recorded in different order. But I have another episode that I'm recording tomorrow about This Is Us by Stacked Like Pancakes. And I kind of made an outline for both of these episodes last night. And there was one thing that stayed kind of true for both of these albums, right? Which is that it's hard for me to rank the songs on this album. There are definitely a few songs on this that I like a little bit more than the rest, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But there really isn't a bad song on this album. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to do a real quick and simple breakdown of like 90% of the album. I'm not going to talk about all of the tracks. It's just something that we'll get there, right? And I just kind of want to focus on a few of these songs in particular. So like I said, I started listening to this album because I just mentioned that I missed good pop punk. And so someone suggested this album, and sure enough, the first song, which is called A Jingle For The Product, immediately came after my statement and after me. There is a little bit of that new pop punk age of the whoa-ohs, but, even 90s Blink-182 had na-na-nas and stuff like that in some songs. I mean, All the Small Things, right? One of the biggest songs that people know by that band is filled with na-na-nas. There's also this mid-80s punk sound in the song to me, kind of giving it like a Ramones vibe. I feel like the drums could be a little heavier to sort of help that along, honestly. But, honestly, they really could be heavier throughout the whole album. But I think especially in this song, I just feel like the bass drum never really resonates, like, in me when I'm listening. Let's go back to the good stuff, because it really is a fantastic album. So going back to this first song that we started talking about, I want to talk about the lyrics. Lyrics is definitely pretty heavy for me in this album. We have this moment where he says, "We never had a chance, but we made our plans till they were blown apart. We watched it all crash around our feet, and man, it broke my heart. We took it day by day and never thought for once those days were going to end. I got what I wanted when I think about it, but I miss my friends." I think a lot of us has probably been there, and kind of like, as I said, I'm about to end my college career right in just a couple of days, and I kind of feel some of those emotions myself. There's definitely people that are missing in my life that, like really great friends that I had in high school, for instance, that we were like, oh, we're always going to be friends, and we're always going to be on the same team and stuff like that. And then now it's, I definitely still got to where I wanted to go, but I do miss those people. So if you're out there watching, I still think about you. Then in the next song that I'm going to talk about, which is 2 songs later, in Paris Hilton Is a Metaphor, we have this really somber intro that kicks into overdrive once the band starts playing together. But it's this really great bluesy, like kind of piano solo in the beginning, and then the whole band comes in on the Now, what I really dig about this first bit is how much it kind of feels like an Andrew WK song. Not like lyrically, it's not, like a party song, but from the way that the vocals are done and even produced, and the way the music is approached, it just feels like that mid-2000s Andrew WK sound, which would make sense considering this album came out in 2008. But I'm here for that. Then we have a total change of feel at the end of the song, and we get back into that Ramones and very early pop punk sound. It's a really cool shift, and it ends kind of abruptly. Like, the song ends just kind of on a dime, but I really dig it. That's one hell of a song.
One for all and all for one. No other fighting overcomes. Today is better than any day that's come before.
Okay, so the next three songs are probably going to be what we focus on the most, right? They're definitely my favorite moments on the album. So let's start with Gainesville, which comes up first. Gainesville has some of the most fun lyrics on the album. I'm living summertime, not gonna think about the dark clouds. I'm just basking in the shine. One for all and all for one, no longer fighting over crumbs. Today is better than any day that's come before. And then we have the chorus, right, which has, and it feels like summer in October. And I hope this day is never over. And it feels like summer in October to me. The next verse is also very good, because it's a feeling I think that, we've all been there, right? It's hard not to complicate. I've taken life for granted forever and a day, like it was broken from the start. I had to tear it all apart and hope the pieces still fit back together fine. Finally, in this song, we have another total change of pace at the very end, going into a completely different feel for the section that goes, time was wasted, we're moving way too slow, let's go before we're old. Time doesn't wait for me. Time was wasted, we're moving way too slow, let's go because we're not getting any younger. Time doesn't wait for me. This is a sentiment that I know that I will make in the video that's coming out, or has come out by now, for This Is Us. But there's just really cool things that you can do in a band when you have really talented musicians. And I think that sometimes people don't think that punk is all that technically difficult. And sure, you definitely have a lot of people who are just sort of doing bar chords or power chords and just sort of like chugging along and just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. But a band like this gets to do complete 180s at every turn, and pull it off flawlessly. It's fun to watch, or I guess listen. Ode to the North American Snake Oil Distributor. That's a tough name. Let's try this one more time. Ode to the North American Snake Oil Distributor. So that song and Gainesville are definitely both tied for first place for me on this album. I cannot tell you which one I enjoy more. They're both insanely catchy tunes, both have incredible music, and both have great lyrics. So in Ode, we have the starting. Wrong or right doesn't exist in this light. This world can't exist with only black and white. How can you judge what you can't understand, presented with truth, rejected out of hand? Then the chorus, I try to raise my mind to stop the recoil. There will come a day, though, smash your fucking halo. And I won't be the one to say what's wrong or right to you. Lead you to the riverside, make you drink until it's dry. And although there are certain complaints that I've had about the drum sound in this album, this song I feel like doesn't have that issue, because one of the best things on this whole album, and I don't know why, it is just a moment that for some reason just gets me so hype, and it's literally just 3 notes. It is this 3 little snare drum hit that's extremely tight and really dry. Like there's no reverb. I mean, like it's just like, and it's just, and like there's no resonance, but it just hits real quick. And that's what goes in between bits like presented with truth, rejected out of hand. I try to raise my mind, right? And that's where it comes in. And also throughout the whole song, the drum player is really just playing some fantastic drum fills throughout the whole thing. I think it's really great because pop punk, I think sometimes like I was saying earlier, pop punk can sometimes be a little kind of like the same speed, the same everything, right? It just gets very kind of cookie cutter in a way. But a band like this shows that, it's not a drummer who only learned 3 or 4 patterns and then that's it. This song has so many shifts throughout the entire piece, and the way that the drums are played just helps it just groove right along. I mean, it's impressive. Minimum Wage is a gateway drug. This is a song that I think is a perfect example of why they are with Fat Wreck Chords, right? It's that political pop punk statement, and it's one that I think probably too many people recognize. So I'd like to highlight verse number 2 and the chorus, which is really just one line sung multiple times. But so here it is. It's tradition tells us home own, but the time card's saying no go. Now the suits are talking foreclosure from sea to shining sea. Time was a wartime economy, was a silver lining to tragedy, but even with those, homes are now those alone. In the land of the free, I asked for nothing and I got it in spades. Worked for a living and I earned a cage. They say I look old for my age. This American me. This American me, it repeats. So this song talks also a lot about, living paycheck to paycheck, being in debt, and how too many people find that sometimes the streets or even a cell are the only home that people can kind of find. With the highest prison population per capita, it certainly isn't wrong on some of those fronts. And as far as home owning has really kind of gotten worse over time, really over the last few decades, especially once the economy tanked because of the home loan aspect of the world, right? People of my generation, I think, are definitely feeling the burn of this now, which I say in my very, very small apartment room. As you can see, my bed is literally like not even a foot away from me. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Talking about home owning in a very small apartment that I rent. Whoops.
The world turns to a desert while you pray for rain.
Okay, the classical arrangement is the slow jam of the album. It really breaks everything up on the rest of the album, and it just has this really great turn of phrase.
The world turns to a desert while you pray for rain.
Love that line so much. It's just such an incredible lyric. The song does also kind of change gears and pick it up a little bit, and then even after the band sort of does pick that up, it's still a slow jam, right? But it really does help this song stand out, and it is definitely not just a drop in the ocean.
These cannonballs are crashing around me. I see the writing on the fucking wall. It's been like this for so long, and the change is coming out of the crowd.
Here's another title where it's all just one word. America's premier faith-based initiative. So America's premier faith-based initiative then brings you right back to that faster-paced tune with a little more heavy lyrics. The first lyrics of the song alone are worth noting. These cannonballs are crashing around me. I see the writing on the fucking wall. It's been like this for so long, and the change is coming at a crawl. So although this album is from 2008, so within that 10 years, we've certainly seen a good deal of change in our world, and especially this country. I can definitely see where those lyrics would come from at that age. This song is an extremely fun song on a musical standpoint. I might get a little flack for, saying that some of the components of this song are a little problematic, like the title alone. But some of these lyrics are immediately something that stick out to me because I know exactly like who they remind me of, It goes on and on like a painful sitcom. Well, I'm sorry, sir, but are you ready for your close-up? Your ego's fed, my face is red, I gotta get out. Forget so easily the way things used to be, I gotta get out. All this limelight, it's burning up your sight, and I'm afraid you no longer see it. Handed the life you want, you chose to respond with nothing but complaints. That's not a life, it's a fucking cliche. And then just like a lot of the songs on this album, we sort of change gears and we hit the bridge, which goes like this. Can't get back to the start. Yeah, it hurts sometimes. Yeah, it kind of breaks my heart. Try to find something to say, but the words don't fit. The words don't fit. I stood there awkwardly while you let people act like you just parted the sea. I want to set it straight. And then we exit back into the main field with some final thoughts to sort of wrap it up. And so the ending of this album is definitely still very good. But I don't have as many thoughts on the final 3 songs. You know, kind of like I said earlier, there's no bad songs on the album. It's just that I'm choosing to take my time to talk about the moments that I feel I have kind of stronger feelings on. And I just think that that's where I'm going to leave it, because I don't think that I have enough thoughts to really do justice to the last few songs other than I like this song. It's fun. I'm going to give this album an 8.5 out of 10. I really love it. There's a few moments that do fall short compared to other moments, but I've had this album on repeat since I first heard it. And I think that kind of shows that it's definitely better than a 7, and better than an 8, but it's not quite an almost flawless album. I don't know, maybe I should kind of come up with a more distinct grading system, like the way Polygon does stuff or whatever. But in the end, it's still just my opinion. It's the opinion of just one man. So have you heard the album? If so, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I can tell you this. This album does have me hoping that after 10 years of not having new music by them, that they will come back and give us more. There you have it. That's the end of this video. That's the end of my review of Civil War by Dillinger or Dillinger Four. Like I said, if you've heard it, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And I guess now it's time to say goodbye. So, as always, I'm Colin Parker, and we'll see you on the next episode of Culture Shock.